I got my first Etsy sale in 10 days, but it took way more work than I expected. 19 listings, constant second guessing, and a very humbling reality check. So here's the thing. Technically, this wasn't my first time selling on Etsy. If you're new here, I tried it back in 2023 for about 2 months, and then I made my first sale, but had no idea what to do after that, so I stopped. And then I came back in 2024, was actually determined to learn the platform, so I enrolled myself in a $7 Etsy course because I wanted to do it properly instead of just winging it. I opened my second shop with 4 Christmas listings, kept adding 1 or 2 every day or every other 2 days, and spent my first few days refreshing my dashboard like it was my part-time job. Some days I would get 10 visits, others I would get 4, and I kept wondering if anyone was ever going to find my shop. But then that first sale finally came, and it completely shifted how I approach everything afterward. So today I'm going to walk you through the entire timeline, what I think actually contributed to the sale, the mistakes and realizations along the way, and how that one sale led to more. If you're new to Etsy or new again like I was, this video is for you. When I decided to start doing Etsy again, I wanted it to be a fresh start. So I opened a new Etsy shop again. I don't know, there's just something about starting with a clean slate. And this time I didn't assume my past attempt qualified me as knowledgeable in any way. I kind of approached it with beginner energy, but with more structure. The course I enrolled in really taught me the idea that consistency matters way more than perfection. So I committed to adding listings every day as much as I could, even though I wasn't feeling confident. When I finally launched, I had only 4 listings. They were all Christmas themed because it was the end of September at that time, and based on my research at that time, Christmas clip art started to gain traction and a lot of people love Christmas, so I thought I should reel in. I even thought that I would be flooded with sales because it was in demand at that time. But then came the reality check. Even with seasonal products, things did not magically take off. My visits were humbling. On a good day, I would get 10 visits. On a bad day, I would get 4, sometimes 3. And sometimes Etsy would give me a little bit of like impressions, and sometimes it acted like my listings didn't even exist. I didn't fully understand yet that this was normal. I didn't know that Etsy has this phase where it quietly tests out your new listings to see where they fit, to figure out where they belong, compares them to similar products. I didn't know those, and at that time, it felt like I was just talking to myself. Every time I uploaded something, I would get hopeful for like 2 days and then immediately overthink when nothing happened. But I kept going, listing after listing, day after day, and despite the visits being all over the place, I tried to not let it discourage me. At this point, it wasn't about instant success, it was about building momentum and learning how Etsy works. Now, let's break down the first 9-day window. Day 1, I opened with 4 listings. I wasn't really expecting a lot of traffic, but I was kind of like hoping that there was a bit of traffic. But my dashboard remained calm and I had 26 visits. Days 2 to 4, I uploaded more listings. I was watching my course. I learned more about Etsy SEO and trying my hardest not to overthink everything. For days 2 to 4, I only had 19 visits. Days 5 to 7, this was when the doubt started kicking in. You know that voice that always questions everything? Did I pick the wrong niche? Do people like my designs? Is this even for me? That voice. And to make it even worse, I was a part of this Etsy seller group that came with the course, which was helpful, by the way, but also at the same time was not helpful at all, because every time someone would post something like, oh, I just posted my first listing yesterday and today I got my first sale, I would be sitting there commenting like, cool, I love that for you. Meanwhile, I'm on my 12th listing, questioning my entire existence. It wasn't jealous, but I feel like I felt envious. But here's the surprising part. Even though my visits weren't consistent, I was getting impressions. That meant that Etsy was actually pushing my listings to people. But the fact that I had visibility was enough proof that SEO was actually working. I just needed more time and more listings. For days 5 to 7, I had 14 visits. Days 8 and 9, by this point, I had uploaded enough listings that my shop started to look fuller. Not huge, fuller. I had about 19 listings at this point. This was when things started to shift. Every listing is essentially another doorway for someone to find your shop. So the more doors you have, the more chances someone picks the right one. At least that was the logic I kept repeating myself to stay sane. For days 8 and 9, I had 16 visits. And then day 10, the sale happened. Out of nowhere, I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't promoting anything. I wasn't doing anything except trying to survive emotionally. But here's the funny part. I actually didn't see the sale on day 10 because I wasn't checking my shop. I stopped checking my shop. Day 11, I opened my Etsy shop and I was really shocked when I saw that first sale, that first order. Someone actually found my listing, clicked it, and bought it. My first reaction to that first sale was actually a mix of happy and sad at the same time. I was thrilled because something finally worked, but at the same time, it took me 19 listings to get there. 19. And for a second, I interpreted that as failure. At that time, I didn't realize any of this. I honestly thought I was doing something wrong. I didn't know that new shops need volume before they actually gain traction, or that those listings were actually giving Etsy the data it needed to understand my shop. Etsy didn't know my products yet. It didn't know my shop yet, but I only learned that later on. Back then, adding more listings felt like throwing things at the wall. Looking back now, it makes so much sense. My first sale didn't happen because of one magical listing. It happened because of the collective effort of everything I've uploaded, because I stayed consistent, because Etsy finally had enough information to match my listings with the right buyers. And honestly, that first sale lit me up. Suddenly, Etsy didn't feel like a mysterious black box anymore. It felt like a platform I could actually learn and navigate. When I look back at what specifically helped me get that sale, a few things stand out. First was product choice. I uploaded seasonal items during seasonal rush, which meant people were already searching for these kinds of designs. I wasn't fighting against demand, I was aligning with it. Second, pricing. I didn't go too low because customer would think it's low quality, but I wasn't overpriced either. I stayed in that sweet spot where beginners can realistically compete. Third, SEO. This is honestly what I think carried me. The course helped me understand how people actually search on Etsy. I wasn't just guessing anymore. And I will give the credit where it's due, but ChatGPT helped me a lot too. Between the course teachings and ChatGPT helping me brainstorming keywords, I finally felt like I was using search terms that people actually use when typing something on Etsy. Even though I still didn't feel super confident, the impression proved that something was working and people were finding me. And lastly, consistency. And I cannot stress this enough. The more I uploaded, the more Etsy got to work with. Each listing wasn't just a product. It was a little data point telling Etsy that, hey, this shop is alive. That one sale changed everything. It gave me momentum, it gave me motivation, but most importantly, it confirmed that Etsy can work when you learn the system and stay consistent. After that first sale, I kept uploading. I paid attention to what got views and what didn't. I made sure that my title and description were optimized. I played around with new product ideas, and as my listing count grew, my visibility improved, and so did my sales. That first sale wasn't a random fluke. It was the beginning of Etsy finally understanding what my shop was about. And once it did, things started to move faster. So if you're waiting for your first Etsy sale, or you're convinced that you're doing something wrong, I want you to take a deep breath. This is normal. It is slow in the beginning, everyone starts here, and your shop isn't failing. It's learning. If you want more videos about my Etsy journey, the behind the scenes, and what I'm learning along the way, make sure you subscribe and let me know in the comments how long it took you to get your first sale, or if you are still waiting. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye!